Hi writers, it's writing workshop time. This is going to be our last week of writing opinion letters about stories that we read and that we're recommending for others. So I want us to make sure that we remember all of the elaboration strategies that we learned and that we are using them in our writing so that we can convince our readers what our opinion is. So I've been using a lot of different stories to help me with my opinion writing for the past few weeks. I've been reading Ivy and Bean, the first book, Molly Mack and the Tooth Fairy Trouble, and Horrible Harry in Room 2B. Now, all three of these stories were like really great and I enjoyed them all. But it's hard for me to write about all of these books. So I have a hard job to do. I'm going to have to think about which one of these three stories I have the strongest feelings about. And whichever ones I have the strongest feelings about, that's the one that I'm going to be writing about today. And I'm going to do a special type of writing. Today I want to teach you that opinion writers, they give a nomination for the book that they think is the best. So today I'm going to be picking one of these three to nominate as the funniest, best story to read ever. But first I have to think about which one I have the strongest opinion about. Well, in Molly Mack Tooth Fairy Trouble, I think it was funny because Molly didn't want her tooth to fall out, so she wrapped tape around her whole head to keep the tooth in. And Ivy and Bean and Ivy do like crazy things together and they're always getting into trouble. But there were some chapters that really weren't that action packed. So some parts were like, whoa, and then some parts were like, eh. But this one, I couldn't stop reading it. Every single page and every single chapter, Harry was doing something wild and crazy. It kept me on the edge of my seat. So I think that this is the book that I'm going to nominate as the best book ever. So take a look with me and see how I'm going to write my nomination for the best story ever. I already picked the book that I'm nominating as the best book to read ever. So today's our teaching point says writers nominate books. And these are the steps that we take. 1, we take out all of our books. 2, we think about the book that gives us the strongest feeling. And then finally, we nominate that book. So I looked through my three stories, my Horrible Harry, my Ivy and Bean, and my Molly Mack, and I picked Horrible Harry. So now I'm going to nominate this book as the best book to read ever. So I'm writing this to Angie, who's my goddaughter, and I want her to love Horrible Harry books just as much as I do. And remember, my goal is to nominate. So watch me as I show her that I'm nominating this book as the best book to read ever. Dear Angie, you and I love reading funny stories. We have read lots of books too. The funniest story I have ever read was Horrible Harry in Room 2B. This story has the funniest characters, the craziest plot, and a happy ending. So writers, do you see how I followed all my steps that I usually do? I named who I'm writing this letter to. I named the title of the story, and I said my opinion about it. It's the funniest story to read, but I definitely have not nominated it. So this is where I'm going to decide that I should nominate it. And I think I want to use, thumbs up or stars or 10 out of 10. I think I'm going to say that this book deserves 5 stars. So I'm going to nominate it as the funniest story ever, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. So watch how I do this. I'm going to go back and reread. This story has the funniest characters, the craziest plot, and a happy ending. I nominate this story as the funniest story of all time. I give this book 5 stars. So writers, look at what I'm doing. I am giving my reader my opinion about the story, but I'm also giving it a nomination. When we nominate something, we're saying that it deserves like an award or it deserves to be called the best ever. I nominate this story as the funniest story of all time. I give this book 5 stars. So writers, look at the steps that I followed today when I have to pick a book to nominate. When I want to nominate a book, The first thing I have to do is take out or think about all the stories that I've already read. Then I have to think about the one story that gives me the biggest feeling. It could be like you like it the best out of all of them. You could even say I nominate this as the worst story ever because out of all the books I've ever read, this one is the worst. And then you nominate that book. So let's see in my writing if I did that. You and I love reading funny stories. We have read lots of books too. That's my first part, talking about all my books that I've read. The funniest story I have ever read was Horrible Harry in Room 2B. So there I name the book that I have the strongest feeling about. And then I give my nomination. I nominate this story as the funniest story of all time. I give this book 5 stars. So writers, now you're ready to go and nominate a book that's the best or the worst story to read ever. Make sure you follow our steps. Take out your books or think about all the books that you read. Pick the one that gives you the strongest feeling and nominate that book. You could say, I give it 5 stars. You could say, I give it 2 thumbs up. You could say, I give it 5 out of 5, or I give it a perfect 10. Whatever you want to do to nominate it, that's fine. Just make sure that you don't forget that you are nominating your books. When you nominate your book, you keep writing, giving all your details and examples to support your nomination. I can't wait to read your writing pieces at the end of the week. So don't forget, take out those books, get your writing workshop materials ready, and let's nominate a book. Bye until next time.